let me ask you this. What's the best thing you can hope for if your pitch goes incredibly well? What do you think? Money? Great. Maybe a, big sack of cash, but maybe that's what you're hoping for. Maybe you're hoping somebody's going to give you cash, or maybe you're hoping that somebody's going to say, yes, I really want to make your film. We really want to greenlight your film. These would all be great outcomes from your pitch. But if your pitch goes incredibly well, my bet is an outcome that you will be happy with will be another meeting. In between those two pitches, one that you've done and the one that you're going to do next week, there's going to be another meeting. Very, very likely there's going to be a third meeting. But here's the thing about the third meeting. You're not there. You're not at that third meeting, because there it is in between your meeting 1 and your meeting 2. You aren't in the room. How come? Well, it works like this. You go in and you do a great pitch, and they ask you to come to another meeting. But to organize that other meeting, very likely the person you've pitched to the first time says to other people, hey, I just heard this great pitch. I'd love you to hear it. And the other person's going to go, great, what is it? Who is it? What are they doing? What kind of film or TV show is it? And at that point, that person is going to say something, okay? They're going to say something about your project and about you based on your first pitch. And that's important because what you say in your pitch needs to prepare them to be able to effectively pitch to somebody else. Simplicity is not the enemy of complexity. It doesn't really matter how multi-layered or subtle or complex or original your project is. If you can have some clear, simple communications, some clear, simple things to say about your project, then the person listening will remember well enough to be able to repeat them to their boss or their partner or somebody you might want to work with. And guess what? The effect of that first pitch is the person who is listening is now kind of working for you. They're your proxy. And that's a good thing. When pitches really work, in my experience, they work best as a conversation, as an exchange, as a communication, rather than as a performance. And I'm just going to digress here for a moment and say I literally have recollections, in the plural, by the way, of meetings in BAFTA headquarters in Piccadilly, listening to people's pitches, and young filmmakers coming along and nervously reading a pitch to me, and me saying to them, look, I don't care what you remember or you don't remember, but just talk to me. Just let's have a conversation about this project, because actually reading a pitch is not very engaging, and even reciting one, directly from memory, tends to be less engaging than having a conversation. Storytelling always has an expository component, particularly film and television storytelling, and really all storytelling. So why? How can I say that with such conviction? And the reason is because exposition is simply the information that the audience needs to understand your story. The information that the audience needs to understand the story. And in this case, in a pitch, it's the exposition elements are the information that the audience or your listener, your buyer, your producer needs to understand your pitch. I meet people and I say, what are you working on? and they start to talk. They go like, fade in, mist is on the fields, and and they talk like for minutes on end. And at a certain point, I go, oh, it's a short film, because they haven't actually said that it's a short they're working on. It's probably a 5-minute film, and they've already spoken for 10 minutes because they've gotten lost. But they haven't mentioned at the beginning the format. So if it's an episodic TV show, say so. If it's a feature film, say so. A short film, just include that at the beginning, because for the listener, it makes it so much easier. One of the things that I say to people when I'm helping them with their pitches is, if you aren't excited about your work, how can you expect anybody else to be? And quite often, what happens is we get so tied up in the minutiae of what we do, and we also can be quite nervous when we're talking to other people about ourselves or about our work, that we turn the whole thing into something quite turgid. I mean, you don't think your film is boring, otherwise you would not be making it. So I think the hard and fast rule about pitches is, do not be boring. You mustn't be boring. And that means very often leaving things out and saying less. So you, I believe, are the most important element of your pitch. And not just you, but your connection to the work, why you want to make this, what excites you about it, what your emotional connection is to it. The story element in your pitch comes with a warning, comes with a health warning, in fact, because so many times I have been listening to pitches, and the moment that the filmmaker starts to talk about story is where or shortly after, is when they lose me. Because telling a story concisely is extremely difficult. So what I would encourage you to do in your preparation is to choose a small number of story beats and to speak about those story beats and to speak about the connection between those story beats. You will not have time to be able to tell the whole story of your film, even if it's a short film. It just doesn't work in pitches. At least it doesn't work well for most of us. Maybe if you are some kind of a dynamite, Olympic class storyteller, you'll be able to hold your listeners by stepping out the whole story. Mostly, we lose our listeners. Mostly, we get lost or are boring. And the way to get over this, to avoid this pitfall, is to talk about character and theme. The theme is the juice of your project. And it's really useful to you if you can prepare some short sentences, some phrases that explain the theme that you are exploring in your work. Most of us, when we are excited about a film or a TV show, what we talk about? We talk about the characters. And we talk about the characters because they are the people that we feel investment in, and or they are the component of our work that as an audience we become invested in. The choices that they make and the actions that they take. The key thing is when you use comparables, in other words, when you compare your project to films or TV shows that have been made in the past, that there is a clear reference, there is a clear reason why you are referring to it. Maybe it's to the demographic, maybe it's to the visual style, maybe it's to some sort of aesthetic. People will tell you that you must have a logline. Well, look, loglines are hard to come up with. One of those really short, pithy statements that are memorable and give an insight into your project. If you can come up with one, and it's good and you're happy with it, then you can include it in your pitch. If you have failed to come up with one that you're happy with, don't give a logline.